Good Friday was never supposed to be called good. Jesus of Nazareth is betrayed, arrested, brutally tortured, and publicly executed. So why on earth do we call it good? It is the question everyone has, but rarely out loud. In fact, last Easter, why is Good Friday called Good Friday was literally trending on Reddit and asked thousands of times. The term Good Friday feels like a massive, awkward typo in the Christian calendar. How can the darkest day in the biblical narrative, a day marked by betrayal, agonizing pain, and death, be branded with the exact same word we use to describe a decent cup of coffee or a nice day at the park? To understand this paradox, we have to put down the theology for a second and look at the history of human language. The confusion comes from how much the English language has mutated over the centuries. Today, good just means positive, pleasant, or satisfactory. But if we rewind the clock and look at Old and Middle English, the word good carried a much heavier, more profound weight. It didn't just mean something was pleasant. It meant something was holy. It meant it was pious, sacred, or set apart. You actually still see echoes of this ancient definition today. When people refer to the Bible as the good book, they don't mean it's a fun, breezy beach read. They mean it is the holy book. So when the early English church started referring to the day of the crucifixion as Good Friday, they weren't saying Happy Friday. They were saying Holy Friday, Sacred Friday. But the rabbit hole goes even deeper. If you look outside the English-speaking world, you'll notice that almost no one else calls it Good Friday. In German, it's Karfreitag, which translates to Mournful Friday. In Greek, it's Megali Paraskevi, or Great Friday. In many Romance languages, it translates simply to Holy Friday. Because of this, many historical linguists believe that the English term Good Friday is actually a corruption, a massive game of historical telephone. They argue that it originally started as God's Friday. This kind of linguistic drift happens all the time in English. Think about the word goodbye. It originally started in the 1500s as the phrase God be with ye. Over centuries of people saying it quickly, God be with ye blurred into God bye, which eventually just became goodbye. It is highly likely that God's Friday underwent the exact same linguistic evolution, slowly softening over the centuries until it became Good Friday. So, historically and linguistically, the name is an accident, a misunderstanding of Old English and a phonetic evolution of God's Friday. Nobody in the ancient world was calling the day of the crucifixion pleasant. But here is the ultimate irony. Whatever linguistic accident or ancient intention is behind the name, it turned out to be good anyway. If you look at the historical narrative of the Bible, the execution of Jesus wasn't the tragic end of a failed rebellion. It was the climax of a divine rescue mission. The darkness of that day was the necessary cost of redemption. It is Good Friday, not in spite of the horrific things that happened on that cross, but exactly because of them. That was the day the debt was paid in full, a day of profound sorrow that resulted in the greatest good. But the story of that Friday didn't actually start with the Romans. The blueprints for that exact day were drawn up centuries before the Roman Empire even existed. In our next video, we are looking at one of the most chilling mysteries of the ancient world, the ancient song that perfectly predicted the crucifixion, a full 1,000 years before it actually happened. Coincidence or something else entirely?